This week, the guys talk about the fantasy football itch, best receivers of all time, Cubs fans always getting bad press, chicken in the world of sports, what movies they miss seeing on TNT, and LJ tries to fix the NBA again. All that and way more this week on Just Press Play.
Pregnant ladies and little kids better get the hell out of the way, because I am running. I'm like Forrest Gump, dude. I am running. So, the Titanic was the biggest ship on the ocean, but that didn't mean it was unsinkable. Okay. All right. I want you each to use ombudsman in a sentence next week. I got one for you. My name is Kevin, the official ombudsman of the Just Press Play podcast. You like apples?
All right, and now we're back. Here it is. The guys are all back and ready to go. And guys, football season is on. It started.
Yes, sir.
Yep. I don't know if y'all got to catch any of the Hall of Fame game was Thursday. The enshrinement was over the weekend. It's good feeling.
Yeah.
Waking up knowing football's back.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got to watch only a little bit. Tammy, she's like, for real? With football already? I said, honey, they'll be out in the first. Let me watch the first two series, and I'll be okay.
It starts to remind me real quick when I was watching some of the game, and they're talking like maybe some of the backups. I'm like, oh, he's on the Ravens now, or something. And you realize, fantasy football's right around the corner. I got to start. Yeah, I got to start figuring some shit out.
Yeah, I'm looking at Joe Flacco right now because he's got a young, good core.
Who's he got? Who are his receivers?
Well, I know he picked up Benny Fowler III, the former Broncos fourth stringer, which is spectacular.
I can see why you think they're great with Benny Fowler III.
Man, over under. I did not think Benny Fowler would get a name drop in the first 5 minutes of the podcast.
Man, I love that dude. He is so good. Anyway, let's see. They got John Brown from the Cardinals, and they've got Crabtree and Willie Snead. And,
they did get Crabtree
Rashad
and Snead.
Perriman. Oh, man.
They do. Is Alex Collins still there, or did they let him go?
I don't see his name on this list, so I'm going to say they let him go.
I think for whatever reason he didn't stay, and I just thought he was really good last year. Why did Oakland
get rid of Crabtree? I mean, he's a legit receiver.
Because he's a punk.
Is he a punk?
Oh, that's just because he gets into it with Akeem Talib. That's a Bronco guy.
No, okay.
This is a Bronco.
We can have that conversation, man. We can have that conversation because this is also the dude that punched Chris Harris in the gut, or privates. We're not really sure because
how do we know that wasn't egged on and started by the Broncos guys? I think Talib's known for being
by what words?
I'm just saying Talib's known for being.
Talib is a punk ass. Like, we can all agree Talib is not the best person that's ever existed. But if Talib says, your mom's fat or something like that, and then you go punch Chris Harris, like, that's kind of a shitty thing to do. Am I right?
Well, I wouldn't punch Talib personally. Talib's a scary guy. I mean,
but is he the one? Is that the one that was like in the end zone or something, and it was or near the end zone, and they were kind of in a crowd, and he just comes up and just knocks him in the nuts?
That's what he's talking about.
They were kind of down on the sideline, and then he pops him one good on a play, and then Chris Harris has to come out. So then the next play, Talib snatches the chain for the second time.
That's my favorite.
And
reoccurring.
then a brawl breaks out.
I love the chain snatching.
Yeah.
And that had happened twice.
Oh, I do too.
Like the reason why you would wear the chain again, and then Talib it's like, yeah, I see that chain. I'm
Did you hear
one
that
more time.
So before the second Bronco game after the first chain snatch, he actually scotch taped it to his skin so Talib couldn't get under it. Until he got under it anyway.
And he still got it.
Off. Yeah. But I don't know. I feel like Crabtree. So Crabtree was also in the locker room when they were in the 49ers locker room when they were blaming Kaepernick and Harbaugh for ruining the 49ers. Like, he just seems to always be in the middle of a controversial situation.
Well, he's a receiver. I mean, so he's going to be a little bit of a prima donna. Yeah.
Well, I get
what you're saying. I get what you're saying. He does seem to be a little bit of a punk.
I mean, I'm not saying Talib's not like an active member in this rivalry, and I'm kind of sad to see it go, but I think I would have gotten
both those guys have moved on, huh? Y'all don't have Talib and Crabtree's gone.
True. Rivalry's dead.
But
the Raiders are now our friends. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Yeah. I was about to say, that seemed hard just to come out of your mouth. That was
yeah. I'm just so excited about Gruden that it's hard to hate him at this point. So
God, so I was showing LJ, apparently Jared Cook they got Jared Cook the tight end now, and they asked him about one of the meetings, and I forget exactly what he said, but he was like, we were watching film. It was some grainy film. I don't even know what it was. It was like old film before they did forward passing. And it goes back to his quote where John Gruden saying he wants to get football back to I don't think he said back to the 80s and 90s or something. Like, he doesn't believe in data or data. I think Bronco fans are like, 10 years? Can we get him to go for more?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm looking for an extension. Yeah.
Already.
So let's go ahead and go on to our best and worst of the week. And I think for me, that's just going to be my best. Not John Gruden, but football. I'm just, I even watched a little Canadian football because Johnny Manziel played the other day and he didn't play so well. But it's just good seeing football back on my TV. And then that gets me into a whole another topic about TV and my cable subscription. I think we'll get into that in a little bit. But my best is just football's back, baby. And I'm pumped.
Hey, I'm with you. I legitimately dressed up for the occasion. I legitimately put on a suit.
Now, he's wearing a suit and tie. I mean, Bronco color.
Bronco colors, But the way. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. I wanted to look good for the listeners.
He's got a clip and everything.
No, I look great. Yeah.
I mean, he does. He's like, wow.
If I do say so myself, I look fantastic.
I know. I don't want to, talk out of turn, but yeah, I look great.
So LJ, what's your best of the week besides football? Unless that's it too.
No. So we've got a ceiling fan in our living room that's got a remote to it, and it's a totally great idea, except for the fact that it's absolutely crippling when you lose that remote, because then you can't control the lights or the fan independently. And if your fan was off,
is there not another way to do it?
Nope.
Without that remote?
There's a switch, so I can turn it on to whatever setting it was before we lost the remote, and that was fan off, lights on. So if we wanted fan in the living room, we had to bring in a box fan. And so we're cleaning up yesterday.
You had a ceiling fan that was just there for looks. It was not.
Yeah.
He basically had a light fixture.
Yeah, it was a chandelier with blades on coming out the side of it. So we found the remote, and now we've got moving air in our living room, and it's wonderful. I just, there's some things
last time we were there, I think you didn't have the remote to the
It's
fan.
been gone for like a month and a half, 2 months maybe.
Okay, I think it's been a while since you didn't.
Yeah.
And those are so hard to keep up with because you don't need it all. You don't use it all the time. You turn on the fan and maybe you don't use it for another, like at least a TV remote, you're flipping channels or something or adjusting the volume. You turn the fan on and then you set the remote down.
Right.
And if you're anything like me, I throw a lot of stuff like on the either coffee table or couch, and it could get under some clothes. I mean, it could disappear in a heartbeat.
Get anywhere.
Absolutely.
So your best is
couch,
your best is that it is back. It has been retrieved, and you have moving air in the living room now.
Yes, it is such a luxury. I've gotten used to life without it, so it's good to be back.
Well, Dad, I know you've been doing a ton of golfing this week, and golfing sometimes makes it on your best and worst. What do you got for your best this week?
I mean, I don't have a best to talk about with golf. We played okay, not that good, not that bad. We played just okay, and LJ just made me think of it because we had a ceiling fan in our bedroom that had the exact same situation. And I finally found the remote control like 2 weeks ago in the back of, you have a little thing by your bedside table.
Yeah,
you have a drawer in
like
it.
a little drawer.
Well, it was hidden in the back under some stuff and everything. And I finally found it. So now I've got my fan going on low, which is just enough air movement to make it so comfortable.
Yeah.
I really like it. So I guess, I thank you. You gave me my best right there, El. But yeah.
It's one of those, and you almost hadn't had it for so long that you've just learned how to deal with not having that remote. And now all of a sudden, this luxury is back in your life.
Oh, man. I'm telling you. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah. Well, it sounded like the way since you didn't actually have a best, were you coming in hot with the worst? Do you have a worst of the week?
No, I don't really have a worst either. I'm just happy to be here. That's all.
I'm just here so I don't get fined. That's all you're doing.
That's right.
LJ, what do you got for your worst of the week?
All right, bear with me. This is a journey.
Here we go.
But I will say that my worst, when we come down to it, is me, and then I'll get you there. Okay. So I heard.
I guess I gotta scratch that off my worst too.
So a couple days ago, it came out that Madden it censors some words in the soundtrack.
I know where we're going.
Notably curse words. But recently, this past Madden, there's a Big Sean lyric that has Colin Kaepernick's name in it, and they censored his name out of the name. They censored
song. Colin Kaepernick
like it was a curse
song,
word.
like it was
not a curse word, nothing like that. Just Colin Kaepernick's name is in it. Okay. And this is the soundtrack for what? Madden.
Okay. Madden.
All right.
So they came out and said that it was an accident because the programmers they thought that since they didn't have the rights to Colin Kaepernick, then they didn't have the rights to his name either in songs, which is kind of baloney, but I guess it could happen. But so then I started thinking about like, okay, so they have the rights to any member of the NFL Players Association. And so I started looking to see, is he in, but I can't find that information anywhere. And then I find out that they also did this last year while he was an active member of the league. And this before his protest became front page news. So it really didn't feel like an accident.
Wait, they bleeped out Colin Kaepernick's name last year?
They sure did, yeah. It was
not
nearly as talked about because apparently the guy who found it kept getting his videos shut down by EA Sports, which is interesting nonetheless.
Not surprising though.
No, not at all.
Shut the...
The guy that noticed that Kaepernick's name was out last year
tried to point it out.
Tried to put videos of it up on Twitter, but then it got copyright stricken by Madden because he was using their material, and so they kept pulling it off of Twitter. And so no news media picked up on it, which is interesting.
Okay.
So they shut it up. Yeah. They shut it up before.
Somehow they shut it up.
Yeah. And so that's interesting because if it was a NFLPA rights problem, well, he was, an active member of the league at that point, and he was actually in the game. So it's a little bit absurd for that to be the excuse then. And then I was also thinking, like, if you can't use the lyrics to a song, then don't use the song. Like, that's my job, is pick out songs for things. So then I started thinking, and I realized that I spent an hour researching the NFLPA and learned a lot about their retirement packages. And then I spent an hour looking at the changes the NFL made in Madden. And then I went down memory lane looking at Madden. And I also looked up the song and listened to it. And I don't care about YG at all, who was the original writer of the song.
Yeah.
And so that's when I realized that I was noticing how cheap the real estate is in my mind. Like, I'd totally give away
the real estate
every.
Is okay.
Yeah, it's not worth a damn. I just give it away. So it's definitely a buyer's market in there. And I just need to get better at that.
So the song though that it was bleeped out of was I think it was a Big Sean song, and Big Sean,
it was a YG song.
Okay,
but I thought Big Sean was the rapper on it.
Okay.
Well, he was a rapper on it, and it was his lyric that they censored.
I know. Big Sean tweeted out that he was upset that it happened, and that nobody from EA Sports contacted anybody from their team to let them know, like, hey, by the way, because it's one thing if you're going to do it, but also if it's Big Sean's song or YG song, whoever song it is. Feel like they should be contacting and go, hey, we are still putting you on, but we're bleeping this out.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with that. But then, I after realizing how freely I was giving away my brain space, I started and how manipulatable I was. I started realizing that like it could totally be because I listened to that song. So it could have been Big Sean trying to, or YG, either one of them trying to push that song out there. I mean,
yeah, that's just free publicity.
It also
purposely did all this because more people were talking about Madden, Big Sean, the song. Maybe.
I mean, I don't know. Everybody wins. I don't know if any of them did it on purpose. So either way, I've just, I've learned about myself that I'm easy to manipulate. And so I want to try not to be because, that's, it's not a good place to be. So anyway, that's where I'm at. That's my worst is I don't. Yeah.
Well, yeah. My worst is going to be sticking on, since I stuck with football, we've been on a football theme, I guess, here. We talked about Madden stuff, but a couple of quotes I heard. I was watching some of the enshrinement over the weekend, and one thing that caught me, Ray Lewis's speech. It was really cool, just in general, to see some of these players. I feel like I've reached the point in age where now the people getting inducted in the Hall of Fame are like the people I grew up loving. Mm-hmm. Like I played Madden with Brian Dawkins, and I played like these are my guys, like Brian Urlacher, Ray Lewis, and T.O. and Moss.
Yeah,
and but. Ray Lewis's speech was exactly what you would think. I mean, he was like preaching up there. He talked about all kinds of things. It was wild. Like at times I got lost. But there was one quote where I really don't know the context because he just was jumping around, but he's talking about his kids, and he talks about how he still kisses his kids in the mouth was his quote. And there's nothing. First, that's a weird thing. I think he means like he still kisses them on the lips. Maybe.
It's a weird thing to say.
But the best thing, and I'll put the video in the show notes, the camera pans over to the kids. And the two boys, they're like, I don't know, they're probably 25 years old. One of them, I think, is at college. And he's like, hell no, kiss me in the mouth. Like their look was just awesome. And you can even see, I think Jim Harbaugh's right behind him. And he just is like pointing to the kids laughing. Like, look at the boy, look at his boy. And it was weird.
Yeah.
My worst is just.
That's hilarious.
In general, I thought Ray Lewis's speech, it was 30, I think it was like 35 minutes, 20 of it was good. And then 15 was just Ray Lewis being Ray Lewis. But I guess that's what you get.
Well, he had time to feel because Terrell Owens didn't have a speech, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, well, he did. He did his up in Chattanooga. He just didn't do it.
What did they do? I didn't get to watch. Did they do anything for Terrell Owens?
They didn't do. I don't think they did any time for him because he said he kind of stood them up.
Did they
so
recognize
like, okay.
him? Did they? I mean,
he's got a jacket and he's getting. I don't really know. I don't think they did anything for him. I'm sure he got his bust in there, but is it a bust? B-U-S-T?
Bust. B-U-S-T.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
He didn't show up at the facility at all, right? Like he wasn't even there.
No, he
Right.
wasn't in Canton. He was in Chattanooga. Right. He did his own thing where it was kind of, I get like part of me gets a little bit of it because he's going back to the small college that gave him a shot and the group of people that where he first got his start and all this. And I get that, but the Hall of Fame is one of the biggest like when you're a kid in football, if you love football, this is the biggest moment to see them take that the thing off the bus, the towel off the bus, and see your moment and can't I do what Randy Moss did, where he said tomorrow or today he'll be in West Virginia at 4:30 in the town center, and he's going to shake hands, meet everybody, let everyone if they want to put the jacket on, like whatever. That's cool. Go back to your hometown, but just don't. The Hall of Fame's a moment. That's such a big moment.
So here's the devil's advocate for T.O.'s actions is who enshrines you into the NFL Hall of Fame? It's the media, right?
Yeah. Doesn't the media vote on it?
Well, the media votes. I think some Hall of Fame members vote.
There's like a committee.
It's made up of a committee of former players and press or people of the press.
I would argue that a lot of the reason that T.O. for one took so long to get into the Hall of Fame was because of the way the press wrote about him during his career. And also it jeopardized his job on multiple occasions. Deservedly or not is not my job to say, but I could see why he would feel a little bit dejected by the members of the media in his post-playing days.
Well, and you kind of say maybe deservedly. So a lot of it I felt like he brought on himself.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I would say a lot of it he didn't, though. There was a lot of times
the only
where
problem that him not doing this, him not going to the Hall of Fame is just all the media members that said he was a headache and all this. He's just giving him credit. He's like, it's basically confirming. Right. He's confirming what
he's validating what they've written about him.
Well, I mean, yes and no. I don't know if he necessarily validates anything by saying I don't want to play your stupid games anymore. He's just not making the money by speaking for them. You know.
I'm
not
saying that he went to the Hall of Fame and made his speech at the Hall of Fame. I mean, he could certainly recognize Tennessee, Chattanooga, and probably give them more publicity by speaking at the Hall of Fame about.
Sure, but I think it's more about. I would say that it's more about screw the media than promotion for a small school. Would be the way it's always seemed to me.
Yeah, I do think he's always felt like the media had it out for him.
Yeah.
But he's screwing himself, I think. You know, okay, whatever.
It's just like, it's like the moment. It's the moment when we got to go to the Hall of Fame when Emmitt Smith was getting inducted and seeing like Moose say the things and like just the moment those players had to reach this point in their career. I just feel like T.O.'s doing himself a disservice by letting the media members win. You know,
I think he might regret it.
What does he lose though? I mean, he loses
the moment.
The moment.
The ceremony of getting into the Hall of Fame.
Well, but so statistically, he's definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer, right? Or was he a first ballot Hall of Famer?
He should have been a first ballot. No, he wasn't.
So
he should have been, I thought.
So he kind of lost his moment. They kind of took his moment away from him in his eyes. I mean, again, maybe deservedly so. It's hard to. I don't think the Hall of Fame should be about who was the best member of, a media circus or, whatever. It should be about who was the best player. And he was, in my opinion, definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer by that criteria. And so by not getting it, it was kind of like knocking him down a peg and saying, you're not good enough for us in whatever ways they decide. And so I would say in a sense, he lost his moment. They took his moment from him. So what does he lose?
All right. Well, yeah,
we're getting a little
move on
for
sure.
I
want to ask real quick. Who do you pick if you can start? You can draft either one since they both got inducted this week. T.O. or Randy Moss, whole career.
Randy Moss,
I think so.
No doubt.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat. I think
T.O. was probably. I never can get over what T.O. did when he ripped his Achilles and then came back real quick and just carried the Eagles when they lost the Super Bowl on like a half a foot. I mean, it was just. T.O. was amazing, and he was really good when he was 36 at the Bengals still. Even when he was a head case and people wouldn't get him, but you couldn't deny that the dude was good. Now, Randy was just there's something he did that was
Randy Moss, you could say, had some – he's in the head case, not Hall of Fame, but he's in the class. But I think he was less of a head case than Terrell. I would take Randy Moss on my team before I take Terrell Owens. I think I just over the breadth of their career.
I'd be happy with either though. I mean, you don't. They're top 2 talents of their generation. So
it was amazing to finally see like when Randy Moss finally got with. I mean, Culpepper was a good quarterback. He played with some quarterbacks, but when he got a quarterback like Brady, it was a whole different level. Like you just realized this dude was doing it with whoever was throwing the ball. Now he's got one of the GOATs, a future Hall of Famer throwing the ball.
That was one of the years I won fantasy football. I had Tom Brady and Randy Moss, and
that's disgusting.
They put a lot of points on the board. I think they scored the most points. I think I still hold the record in my football league of over 25 years we've been doing this, I believe now. And I still hold the record for the most points scored in a season, and it was the Moss-Brady season.
Well, that year, Brady broke the record for touchdown passes, and Moss broke the record for touchdown receptions. I mean, they broke the record for points. Should have won it.
Yeah,
they should have won it all. I wanted them to have the perfect season. I was rooting for them. That was the first time I was rooting for the Patriots, I think, ever.
I was so pleased to watch them lose, but
I don't know if this can be a quick answer, Dad, but just I was looking at some of the leaderboards, and Jerry Rice is the top of every receiver leaderboard. I think there is. Like he's on everything. Why was Jerry Rice better than Randy Moss and T.O.? And if so, why he wasn't faster or taller? Was he?
No. And the only thing I can go back to is I think you would attribute it to work ethic. I think his training regimen, which probably got some of these players today started on their training regimen. That he would do, but he was just better. He got open. He wasn't going to drop a ball, but it wasn't like he had hands like Antonio Brown or Chris Carter.
Yeah,
I mean, he didn't have those kind of hands to me, but he was sure-handed. I think he was a very precise route runner. And he had Joe Montana and Steve Young.
That's what we were just. I thought about. We just mentioned when Moss had Brady, Jerry Rice had 2 Hall of Famers thrown to him his whole career.
His whole career. So that probably had as much to do with it as anything. But I think Jerry Rice was prepared to. He was the best athlete he could possibly be. He made the most of his athletic ability.
That's just.
I think that's fair.
When you think of Randy Moss, you think of a guy who just has that extra gear that other players. You just can't when he puts his hand up.
Ability.
Yeah, it's just he's gone. You're not keeping up with him. When you think of T.O., he was just bigger and stronger than any corner trying to guard him.
Faster than a lot of them.
Yeah. And when I think of Randy Moss, when I think of Jerry Rice, which granted I didn't watch. The time I watched Jerry Rice is like when I was really young and he was on the Raiders or whatever, like the very, very end of his career. So I didn't see like Jerry Rice at his best. And so but from what I've seen and like I've seen his measurables, there's nothing that just stands out besides look at his numbers. Those stand out. But
as I think of most of the highlights I've seen of Jerry Rice, they reflect him making a good cut, catching the ball in stride and going, so some of that was a product of the guys throwing him the ball. He had 2 amazing guys throwing him the football.
For sure.
It also goes with what you talked about, and LJ's mentioned it. I know he's mentioned it to me before off the podcast. I think he has on too, but the all or nothing with the Cowboys. I was kind of watching some. I've been watching some of that finally.
Yeah,
and you just see guys like Des Bryant, who I think the players in the locker room did really, really like Des Bryant, and he's a gamer. He wants to win, but there's a difference between when you have that ability, but you still are like in the weight room or in the film room at all. Like Jerry Rice was always prepared. Oh, and he was better than you and more prepared than you. Like it's just there's a difference when you put them both together. That's why.
Well, I think we definitely talked about it on the show, but it's like the chip on the shoulder mentality too, where he came from a small school, nobody cared about him, and so even when he was the best in the league, he still felt like he had to prove himself. Whereas, I think a Des Bryant doesn't feel as much like and from All or Nothing, you can kind of see that when they played the Broncos, and they were trying to tell him, this is how good Aqib Talib is, this is how good Chris Harris is, and he was like, I don't want to hear about how good they are, I want to, I'm good. Let's talk about how good I am, and it's like. You need to come in with an attitude of I've got to prove to the world that these guys aren't better than me. Not the world already knows that I'm better, so I can just chill and.
Yeah, agreed. So, I mean, just
Jerry Rice's chip on his shoulder, I think, was a huge factor in him being the best.
I mean, people still say to this day about Tom Brady, he still acts like the guy that got taken in the sixth round and got passed up. Like he doesn't think like they should know how good I am. He wants to every day he goes out to practice and he wants to show. For all those teams that skipped on me, here we go. Let's do it again. And there's just guys are built differently.
I think before every one of his 45 Super Bowl appearances, he thinks they don't think I'm supposed to be here, and then he goes out and proves it. So, yeah, I agree. It's chip on the shoulder. That's one of the biggest things in sports.
Okay, yeah, I thought he did.
So I want to get on to the news that kind of made some headlines earlier this week, and it's Urban Meyer, and basically just the real gist of it real quick is his assistant coach, Zach Smith, has got in trouble for some domestic violence issues. And Urban Meyer got asked. He was assistant, I think, at Florida and then also at Ohio State. And recently he's been dismissed. And they asked him at Big Ten Media Day, I think on Thursday or Wednesday, they asked him, they said, Urban, did you know anything about Zach Smith's domestic violence history? And Urban Meyer said, no, I had no clue. I was
he denied having any knowledge.
As soon as we heard about it, we got rid of him. We did everything we need to do. I hope he's still a friend, but I didn't know anything about it. That was in the story. Yeah. But then it came out, Brett McMurphy, who's a college insider, he did some digging because he thought, actually, I've done some reporting in this area, and I've thought he did know about it. There was like a conversation going on, so why would he lie about it? So he did reporting on it, and they figured out that in 2015, Meyer's wife, who works for Ohio State, and Zach Smith's wife, who was the one going through years of domestic violence, were texting back and forth about it. And they even said, like, she said, I'm going to have to tell Urban. And like they have a screenshot of the messages.
Wow.
And she says, yeah, you should tell Urban. So the whole point now is it's not necessarily that Urban let it happen. It's just that he knew about it. They asked him a question and he lied. That's where the problem is. He lied. Sure, he should have done something, but he should have not lied. And it's just, now he's on paid administrative leave. And I guess, long story short, I guess what I'm asking you, El, does he have to go? Can they keep him? What's the answer there?
I'm glad I don't have to make that decision. I would say let him go because, it's, for one thing, I think it's kind of cowardly to like let somebody who works for you be that way if you know about it, and then also to then lie about it. Like I'm not a fan of that behavior, but I'm glad I'm not making that decision. That's a tough one.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, if Urban Meyer, obviously one of the best coaches, I think in our conversations, I mean, there's he and
I think there's Nick Saban, Urban Meyer, and then the rest.
And then there's the rest. So I wouldn't want him gone from my team, but what he did, and I know we've got a thing about this as our family does. I mean, he lied. If he would have just said something different, perhaps, I don't know if I knew about that or I don't know what he could have said. I think he took the easy way out, just said, I don't know anything about it, and thought I better go home and get this crap figured out. But then it exploded on him. I don't know that he has to go, but he really needs to come clean. And you cannot condone domestic violence in any shape, form, or fashion.
No.
Well, and it just goes, the whole thing, I think it just shines a light on, if you needed any more proof of big-time coaches out there, just the days of throwing your skeletons in the closet and just keeping it shut, that's over. Like, it's coming out, get in front, no matter how big, if it's you paid someone or no matter how big it is, you just got to get in front of it now, because at some point it's going to get out. And if you lie about it, like, I think that's at the end of the day, it's not that he may be covered. If he would have said, yeah, we knew about it, we thought that he was,
maybe we thought we handled it internally, or something.
Even then he can go, I made a mistake and we should have handled it differently, but I did know about it. Then he's fine. And he's not.
Yeah, that's a much better answer.
And it's just the days of hiding behind stuff. It's going to come out, man. It's out there.
And what really is the ruination of most everybody in the media that gets caught in something like that? It's the fact that they lied. Just own up to what you do and do your best to fix. Josh Hader. I mean, there's some people that are not happy with him, but some that are, because at least he didn't try to lie his way out of it. And I just appreciate a person that'll stick their hand up and go, I did that. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do it again. I'm a different person.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
It was interesting to me on this note. I did see that a fan started a petition in Ohio to save her. It's called like Save Urban's Job, and it's got over 30,000 signatures on it. And that's where I'd be torn at. I tried to ask Dad this question, but if this was my coach, if Urban Meyer is at the University of Arkansas, it's hard for me to say I want to get rid of him. As much as he did something wrong, I mean, Urban Meyer puts you in the chance for the playoffs every year, every single year. And I don't know, it makes it tough. But I did look back. I don't know if y'all, I'm sure you remember, Aaron Hernandez back when Urban was at Florida. He had Aaron Hernandez on the team. He had Janoris Jenkins, who was always in trouble. I looked it up, and let's see. 25 players were arrested 31 times during Meyer's 6-year stint at Florida. And as soon as Meyer left, like 6 of them got kicked off the team, including Janoris Jenkins, who was a really good player. He's now making like $60 million in the NFL.
Yeah.
But Will Muschamp, just when he got there, he realized, holy crap, they're good. There's a lot of talent here, but these guys are run out of control. And it kind of made me think that sounds like he was also, I bet he was, because a lot of these charges, they would get in dust-ups and stuff would happen, and then the matter would be handled internally. So that's like, Urban or the university's call. Like kind of what happened with Art Briles and Baylor, where you go, let's get this situated not in the public. We'll deal with it. And I just think, where there's smoke, there's fire. And I just think there's maybe Urban's a really good coach, but I think maybe Urban Meyer will bend some rules to win, which I think is college football. I think they're all bending rules to win.
Yeah.
That story that's certainly
provides
some validity to the fact that Urban Meyer he wants to win worse than he wants to discipline or make a difference in a young man's life, perhaps. So,
and I guess it just depends on, what your stance as the fan or the university, what you believe the point of college football really is when it comes down to it. And if it's just win, then it's hard to let go of somebody like that. But I would be surprised if people would openly say the most important thing is winning and nothing else matters. But I think that's the way people feel.
Would you rather Urban Meyer tell you, I did some things, but it's because I wanted to win? As a fan, you want him to win. It's like we talked about with Hader last week. We're quick to give someone the benefit of the doubt if he's winning for our team. If Greg Hardy would have been sacking a lot more quarterbacks while he was at the Cowboys, I bet Cowboy fans would have liked him a little. It's just.
All right, real quick. I know I'm taking a left turn, but a little bit. We got to talk about that Chicago baseball guy.
I wanted to bring up, since we brought up Hader.
And we can delay it, but we got to talk
LJ,
about
do you remember? Let's go ahead now. Do you remember the guy we talked about, the worst guy that with the foul ball?
Got the foul ball from the kid and gave it to his girlfriend or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know the full story, but there's more to it. Like apparently the guy caught a ball earlier. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin. The guy caught a ball earlier in the same game and gave it to the kid. And then I think there was another ball. This was the third ball.
Apparently, this guy was really. He sits there a lot, and he's really good about it. He gets foul balls and he gives them to people. Like he tries to hurry up and get them, and he'll give them to different kids and stuff. Supposedly, and if you see the picture of the kid after the game, the kid has one foul ball in his hand, and then he has another ball that's signed by Javi Baez. So many thought after the game, like I did, we were blasting the guy and saying the Cubs hooked him up with not only a ball but a signed ball too. And then the people who reported it were saying that, no, actually the second ball, one was Javi Baez. The second ball was the one that the guy had given him earlier that game before the cameras were on him. So maybe he deserves a little slack, but my conspiracy theory is coming out. I'm just trying to stay woke here. And I think the Cubs just saw that the picture was out there and it was a guy in a Cubs jersey and this looks terrible. And then even some of the tweets came out that was like, this is Trumpism in 2008. Like it was just a whole whirlwind got through and it was just not what the Cubs wanted. So maybe the Cubs just like, oh, actually this guy's really good. He gave a ball already. Blah, blah, blah. And I think they just spun the story to make a guy in a Cubs jersey look good.
Firsthand how bad it can get if one of your fans becomes infamous. I mean, Steve Bartman.
The Cubs better than anyone.
To Florida. There's some validity to that, but I don't know. I don't think that they would make that up because what do they have to gain by making that up?
I'm bringing the bullshit buzzer on that.
Because he looks bad in a Cubs jersey. They don't want to show.
Oh, come on now. I mean, the guy, we tore the guy up.
That ain't even bullshit. That's horseshit.
We blistered this guy, and it seems I'm pretty confident that he'd given the kid a ball before.
Why? Because you read it?
I've heard it from numerous sources, yes, that probably read it. I think that we just need to give the guy a break. We need to back off.
I will say this does show what Twitter does and social media does now. We saw a 30-second clip, and we were already ready to – we don't have any idea what happened in the game. We were blasting the guy. And that is what Twitter does now. We see just a 30-second video, and you don't see everything in 30 seconds.
Hey, I've been told most of my life that I have an acquired taste. So think if someone had to make their mind up about you and about your personality and who you are in a 30-second clip. I mean, that would be terrible. So surely, I'm giving the guy a break. I'm not going to make my mind up for him in 30 seconds. I bet he's a good guy.
Well, I just, I don't know. I'm staying woke on it. I just,
yeah, but you don't think we've even been to the moon yet either. So,
well, and dinosaurs.
Woke is the wrong word for Kevin.
Let's go ahead and touch on all the sports. I hear through the grapevine that you have a way. I didn't realize the NBA was broken. I think we talked about last time that it's just a cash cow. But do you have a way to fix the NBA?
Well, okay.
What's the problem? Tell me the problem, I guess.
Let me propose a problem, and if you guys agree with it, then we can move forward. Otherwise, this is a dumb segment. The problem, I think, is that the league is too individual centered, and I think a better league would have more team chemistry as an important factor of building a team. And so I think I might have an idea, albeit a strange one, to try to put it more team chemistry based.
Okay.
So you're saying the NBA it's LeBron. It's just
more
you need the star. You don't need to have a good team chemistry to necessarily win.
Yeah, I would say, well, it seems to me, and again, I'm a little bit more of an outsider than you guys, so that's why this subject could be just absolutely dumb if you guys disagree. But I think that an individual has more impact than team chemistry. Like if you've got a shot at, I mean, there's 10 to 15 players that you want on your team, and how they work out with your team doesn't matter.
Go ahead and give me the stars, and we'll figure the rest out later.
That's the way it seems to me.
I think you're right to an extent, but the good teams, like, you do need to get your stars, but you need to figure out the chemistry. Like you see the Warriors; those guys play just perfect basketball within each other.
I mean, they've also got 4 all-stars. I mean, they're a broken
5 now.
They're a broken team.
Yeah, they broke the mold.
Yeah, they're not a part of this conversation at all.
But I get what you're saying.
Okay, yeah, okay. Take them out.
So I get what you're saying. How can you change? How do you fix that?
Well, so I was trying to think of ways, just because I like to break down rules and try to figure out. So one of the things I was
kind of got a little Mike Greeny in you. You got a little
bit maybe, yeah. So one of the things I was thinking about is, what if you get an extra point if between shot clock resets, all 5 of your players touches the ball.
Wait, so within the 24 seconds or the shot clock goes?
Anytime it resets, you have to get all 5 players to touch it to get an extra point.
I'm intrigued with it. I mean, I think I want to make one little change.
Okay.
In that, if all 5 players touch the ball and the offense scores in that possession,
yeah, that's what I mean. It's an extra point that adds
becomes
on.
a 3-point, or the 3-point becomes a 4.
It's not a free point.
They don't get a
Correct.
point.
It just adds on to whatever. That's what I meant. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because that's exactly the way that I intend it. Is it's if you have all 5 people touch it and then miss a 3-point shot, then you get 0 points for that.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
So let me break down why I think this is a good thing. Is I think you want to have 5 players that you trust touching the ball. Defense can become a little bit more about shutting down a player. So you can get more one-on-one sort of things that the NBA loves to see. Well, I just think team chemistry has to be on point, because getting 5 people to touch a ball in 24 seconds or less is really difficult to do. So it's not going to change the tide of most games, but if you pick up on that strategy completely, then I think it could, a team that picks up on that strategy. I mean, like the Warriors are going to just, if this rule is implemented today, will be the best team to ever play basketball. But then once, their roster kind of resets after their salaries start wearing off and stuff like that, then I think this might balance the game to a more team-centric game as opposed to an individual-centric game. Does that make any sense? Is that stupid?
I don't know. What do you think?
Well, interestingly, this is kind of how Steve Kerr revolutionized basketball.
Yeah.
Is when he got to the Warriors, his biggest thing, the NBA was big on metrics. They started really getting the data and looking up different stuff. And Steve Kerr he said, one thing I don't like is we only had 247 passes per game. That number needs to be above 350.
Okay.
And so now since they've started that, if you watch the Warriors, their ball movement is great. I mean, it does help that they have 5 all-stars on their roster, but they also move the ball better than anyone.
Yeah.
And he looked at some stats, and he looked at when Mark Jackson was there, and they averaged I think it's a 247 is what they averaged before. And he looked at for the 3 years prior to Steve Kerr getting there, when they had 300 passes in a game, they were undefeated. I think they were like 21-0. And so he's like, we're obviously better when we pass the ball. And I think you're right. Teams would not only would they benefit from scoring the point, they just would be better team because you can't move faster than the ball. Ball movement is
no doubt
the way to win. Spacing. I know Dad's a big spacing guy, and ball movement. But I don't know if I like. It's weird to me implementing a point for that. I don't know. I just think that would make it wonky.
I think something with what you just said that made me think is that is already incentivized enough. Just not enough teams have realized it. So maybe we don't need to
just
add
the smart
anything
ones
to
don't
it.
realize it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it doesn't need a point. Maybe just people need to, wake up to things that make teams successful. I still like it because I think it's fun to change the rules, but
I don't know. I think it'd be interesting.
Well, the only thing is I don't think it changes the fact that the NBA is always going to be a league where go get me LeBron James and we'll figure the rest out. I just need my star.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, but I think maybe something that happens is you have like a top 30 player, but outside of the top 15 is available, or a top 80 players available, but they're, they've got a history with your point guard or something like that. Then that person becomes maybe a little bit more valuable than that top 30 player. Because
weren't the Hawks like doing what he's saying like 2 years ago, though, that they really didn't have a star, did they?
When they won like 60 games?
Yeah, and it was largely an unknown, somewhat unknown
the no-name
team,
defense.
but it wasn't a bunch of stars. Yeah, it was like the no-name defense.
It was basically, it was Al Horford and Schroeder, and it was a bunch of names you didn't really, that
I didn't
they're not like stars at all. Yeah, the common fans not knowing them, but they played really good basketball. I bet if you look at their passes, because it was Mike Budenholzer it's a weird name. I think it's Budenholzer, but
easy for you to say.
Budenholzer, I don't know, but that now that I think about it, it's
a horrible name to say. I mean, I don't know.
But he was from Budenholzer. Anyway, he was from Spurs. He's a Popovich disciple, and then he went there and implemented that same ball movement style. And it's just like when the Spurs won the championship over the Heat, when the Mavericks won the championship over the Heat too, they did it largely. You have Dirk or a Ginobili or Tim Duncan that kind of can get you a bucket when you need it, but at the core of the game, there's 3 quarters where you need to get easy buckets. You don't need to ISO and have to really work hard. That's why the Rockets couldn't beat the Warriors, because every bucket, James Harden's got to –
just working his tail off.
Yeah, especially when you see people.
So what I'm hearing is that I don't need to be in the NBA front office. I need to be in a team's front office, because no need for a rule, just take advantage of the situation.
Well, it's cyclical. I mean, it really is. I think right now we are an all-star driven league. We're the NBA. Yeah. I think the NBA is an all-star driven league. And I think certainly the NBA has promoted it because their players are so visible and they have no helmets on and all this, blah, blah, blah. But I think that you could put a team together like the Falcons did a couple of years ago, whose teamwork, because at its core, besides spacing and ball movement, is teamwork.
Yeah.
But an individual can make a bigger difference in a 5-person game than in a 11 on 11 or whatever. So. But I could just see it easily starting to shift back to a more team-oriented game, maybe in the upcoming years.
Sure.
Which is what Golden State is showing us. They, again, as we've stated, they just happen to have at least 4 potential Hall of Famers.
They just might have the 3 best shooters in the game.
Of the last 10 or 15 years, for sure. So.
Yeah, it's just it's a lot of people are in front offices are like. Your boy John Gruden, where they don't want to adjust to the times. And there's clearly metrics out there and numbers to look at that show you when you pass the ball over 300 times a game, you're just better. You're better because you move the ball. But we just need smarter people in the front and NBA teams front office.
Yeah, well, I think it'd be good for publicity
less burner
too.
accounts and more metrics.
I think it'd be good for publicity too if you've got like 3 homegrown stars that wouldn't have made it on another team, as opposed to one guy who you kind of poached from, San Antonio or something like that. Like, I feel like you would have a lot more fan loyalty to those 3 guys than the one person.
Man,
is a mercenary.
I saw an article this morning that made me think of you, LJ, and it kind of annoyed me. I bet it annoyed the hell out of you, but it was Kyrie Irving entering the last year of his contract, is his status with the Celtics murky? And it's like, come on, we just got done with free agency. But I get it. People are already going, you're already kind of thinking, what if he went to the Knicks? What if Durant joined him at the Knicks? And it is fun to think about, but I just thought of you. I thought of LJ reading that and rolling his eyes going, oh my God. Here we go again.
Yeah.
I wanted to get back to football real quick because it has me on a broader thought about TV. But did y'all see what apparently Jim Harbaugh doesn't like his players eating chicken?
I heard a little bit about that. Yeah.
So Wilton Speight, the former quarterback, he was doing some profile about, like, they were just talking to him about Bleacher Report did saying where they just learned about Harbaugh and that program and just what he's like.
Yeah.
And he said, it's weird. When I got there, here's the quote. I'll just read the quote to you. It said, early in my tenure, Harbaugh pulled me aside, told him not to eat chicken, a protein that is considered fairly safe by nutritionists. Speight said he asked Harbaugh why, and Harbaugh said, because it's a nervous bird. and then he went on to say he thinks some type of sickness injected its way into human beings' population when people began eating white meats instead of beef and pork. And then he said, and I'm not kidding, he 100% believes this. That's so Jim Harbaugh.
Wow.
I mean, it's just so Jim Harbaugh.
He's a nervous bird.
He doesn't like eating that nervous bird.
Well, so wait, wasn't it Wade Boggs who ate like an entire chicken every time he played a baseball game?
Like pregame? I think so, yeah.
He ate an entire roasted chicken, or maybe fried chicken. I can't remember.
God, I've never heard that. Are you serious?
Oh, dude, there's some lore around Wade Boggs. Dude's, like, I think drank 100 beers on an airplane once.
Lord.
Like, ridiculous guy. But yeah, my understanding
is... You type in Wade Boggs, the first thing that comes up is chicken.
Yeah, so
there's the legend of Wade Chicken Man Boggs.
I've never heard that. Wow, I've got to read up on that.
There's LJ's right. There's a lot of, and then right below it, the legend of Wade Boggs grows to 107 beers on one flight. there's some lore with Wade Boggs.
Well, and I guess maybe what that implies is that sports are just full of superstitious people, and so someone who eats a full chicken every night before he plays a baseball game, and a person who believes that his entire species has been weighed down because they started eating chicken. It's just, there's some weird people in sports. They're not scientists for good reason.
So speaking of just sports in general, and I started thinking about this because you brought it up earlier a couple weeks ago. You just talked about how you kind of miss live TV.
Yeah.
And I think I want to get where you were going with that in a second, but I've noticed now with football now coming back, but when basketball ended and then baseball is just okay to me to watch on TV. I watch some playoffs maybe, especially right now in the regular season. I'm not really tuning in.
Sure.
And I just realized I don't think since basketball ended, I bet my TV's been on a total of like my direct TV. I bet I've turned it on a total of 4 times in the past like 2 months. I just don't watch TV unless it's live sports.
But you're implying you still watch like shows and stuff, just not.
Yeah, I'm watching my Netflix or my All or Nothing or
absolutely.
I'll turn on Game of Thrones or The Wire, but I'm not consuming live TV ever unless it's a Mavericks game or a Cowboys game or something.
Yeah, definitely.
And
I think
you say you miss live TV? Like, what do you miss? I don't think I'm missing out on anything.
I kind of miss the days are gone of like, let's turn on whatever movies on TNT. And now the days exist of let's spend half an hour trying to figure out what we want to watch and then just feel tired and go to bed.
Do agree there.
Yeah,
I miss having, and I also miss radio for the same reason, is like I have to pick out which playlist in Spotify fits my mood instead of just turning on my car. And if a good song's on, a good song's on. And if not, I still have some noise to drive through. Having a curated collection just delivered to you instead of you having to go out and find it was really nice. And so
I will say it was nice back in the day, like you said. Like if I'm flipping through the channels and The Dark Knight's on TNT,
sure,
or the Born Identity or something's on TNT, right. I can stop in, watch till the next commercial or whatever, or maybe I'm falling asleep or whatever. But now I get on Netflix and I'm like, okay, what am I in the mood for, man? Mood for funny, serious, and then all of a sudden I spend 45 minutes thinking about what I'm going to watch.
Right. Yeah, and I've gone through and looked at all of the movies that are suggested on Netflix, and then I look through all of the suspense movies on HBO, and then I look at all the documentaries on Amazon Prime, and it's just like, I don't want to watch any of these right now. I need something on, but I can't just flip it to TBS and watch Seinfeld for the umpteenth time.
Okay, before you get off this, though, so we do remember flipping through the TV to find something to watch, right? We got a little time to kill. You're flipping through the TV. I want you to name me one movie that if you're flipping through and it's on, even if you've got 10 minutes or an hour or whatever you've got, you're going to stop and watch. Just give me one. I mean, I could probably name a couple, but give me, and I got my one, but what would be the one?
Well, there's one that's coming to my mind, and it's because they're celebrating their 20-year anniversary right now. And it's The Big Lebowski.
Okay.
If that's on at any point, any dialogue, any conversation they're having in there, I'm in. Yeah, I'm stopping in. I'm going to listen to it, and I can turn it off, or I can stay.
Yeah, I mean, I can go to work in 10 minutes if I need to.
Or I can watch the whole damn movie. Either one. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to
tell you, excellent choice. Excellent choice.
I cannot argue with that.
And what do you got?
That's a tough one. I mean, because I don't ever have that life anymore, so it's. I always look. Okay, here's my answer.
That's what I'm saying. Before you forget,
here's my answer. Is whenever I have to clean the house, the first thing I do is look to see if Bad Boys 1 is on any of the streaming channels that I watch. There we go. That or Blue Streak. Bad Boys 1 or Blue Streak, I will always watch if I have an opportunity.
A good action movie that you can jump in and out of,
but also like superfluous enough that like you don't have to actually pay attention to the entire thing. Like if you miss an hour and a half. You still got your 10 minutes of it or whatever. So it's fine.
Well, now I'm excited. I'm excited to hear that. I like those choices, but I'm excited to hear Dad because he brought this question up. I feel like he had.
Well, as I've been talking about, I'm going to go with the one I first thought up, but I thought of more. But I'm going to go with Tin Cup. I love Tin Cup. I think y'all probably heard
I've never
me say
seen
that
Tin
before.
Cup.
Neither have I.
Oh, you have to watch it. I mean, Kevin Costner.
It was such a disappointment.
That's wild because this is the second time it's come up in the past 24 hours for me. Someone mentioned it. I think Lane mentioned it yesterday. I was like, I love Tin Cup. It's one of my favorite movies.
I'm telling you, if you've got 10 minutes, you can get into Tin Cup. It's just.
I think the JPP fantastic. Movie Club needs to have a watch party at some point.
Our movie review. We need to have a movie review.
We need to have like. We could, like maybe like Thursday at 9 o'clock or that's a little late. Maybe Thursday at like 7 o'clock. Everybody who listens can join us. We're all going to turn it on in our respective houses and all watch it together separally.
We'll do like a Twitch video. Like we'll do it live streaming of us all watching.
There we go.
And we're just sitting there going,
a movie that, the movies that kind of came to my mind when you first asked, and I think it's because we just mentioned it, but the Bournes, any of the Bournes,
they're absolutely.
Well, any of the Bournes with Matt Damon.
What did you think that was going to be my answer, LJ?
No, I thought your answer was going to be Along Came Polly. I was pretty certain that was the answer,
but that's not one I thought of. I mean, I thought of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Now, Raising Arizona would be another one.
Yes.
Have y'all ever seen Midnight Run? Have you ever seen Midnight Run? Charles Grodin and Robert De Niro. It came out, by the way, I know this because it came out the same year that Die Hard did. And y'all have seen Die Hard, surely, right?
Yes.
Die Hard.
Yes.
You've not seen Die Hard with Bruce Willis? You got to watch it.
It's one of those things.
Okay, Kevin.
It's one of those things. It's not like I purposely didn't watch it, but I just think sometimes you just kind of miss out on a movie. And I always thought I should have went back and just never did.
Okay, so I've got something to say on that. I mentioned it to you guys in an email. I watched Ghostbusters for the first time like a week and a half ago.
Same. I've never seen Ghostbusters, and that's one of those
even having watched it, I think I missed it. Like it felt like it was too late. Like I saw it maybe 5 years too late, but it was just too late for me. And like, there's no point in going back. I wouldn't suggest somebody go watch it for the first time right now, even though I understand that it's a great movie.
You know what I feel that way about? The Office. I kind of want to watch The Office, and I think, did y'all all watch it?
Oh, I loved it.
Oh, yeah.
I think
I'm
I just
watching
missed
it right now.
Why would we watch it?
I think I missed the time.
I think The Office holds up. Unless, have you tried watching it and just not liked it?
I've watched about 3 episodes, and it's okay. It's all right.
Have you watched from the beginning, or have you watched like
Started
just
from the beginning.
some other?
I watched the first 3
episodes. Okay, so I think
episodes.
that's your problem is I really don't. The first 3 episodes were just like trying to exactly copy, even word for word at times, the British version of The Office. And so by halfway through the second season, they've really found their stride. I think I would, if I were you, just like plop yourself down somewhere in like the 3rd season. And, if you get a kick out of it, you get a kick out of it. But I don't think you've missed it yet. I think you've still got some time on that one.
Speaking of The Office, just in shows in general, but like if you notice Pam and Jim, you won't know who I'm talking about maybe, but they get better looking as like from when the show first starts. Even Michael Scott does, but even from when the show first starts to when it ends, Jim is like a dashing, he's a good looking man. At the beginning, he's got like, he's kind of a goofy looking
bowl
guy.
cut and
Does that? So my question is, it seems like that happens in a lot of shows, and is that they purposely want him to look not as good at the beginning? He's going to get better looking over time, or is it as fame? Because that show started getting more popular and more popular, and as fame kind of hits the actor John Krasinski, as fame comes, maybe so does start worrying more about fitness and skin complexion and all this. Is it the show doing it, or is it him doing it?
I think part of it is he as a person goes from having to, I don't know, maybe cater all day long or wait tables all day long or, has a day job to now he gets paid enough to do this silly little show that he gets to just work out all day, every day. So,
because
I think that's part of it.
You notice it in a lot of shows, and they just the girl, all of a sudden by the end of it, you're like, wow, she is beautiful. And I don't remember thinking that at the beginning, or man, he's like a really good looking guy. And at the beginning, he was a goofy SOB, And it just seems like it happens over the course of good shows.
So I know you know this, Kevin, but I think one of my favorite things that has created, because that's definitely a thing that happens all the time. And so one of my favorite things that's created is in Always Sunny in Philadelphia, the guy who plays Mac, I've lost his name right now, but the guy who plays Mac decided he hated it that every sitcom he watches, everybody gets prettier by the end of it. And so he put on like 70 pounds or something like that just for the sake of breaking that stereotype.
Legit 70. When he was carrying Rob McElhaney, when he was carrying around like a trash bag full of burritos.
Yeah. He put on like, just straight up fat for the point of comedy and not being one of those shows where everybody gets prettier.
I thought it was a joke. Like, look, here's a picture of him, Dad. He's not a bad looking guy.
Right.
He's built.
Right.
He literally put on like 60 pounds of fat. Like, he just got fat. You could see his face, his stomach. He was just big.
Just to be funny. Because
in all shows they get better looking. So he was like,
I'm not going to get
and he's a writer for the show too, I believe.
And a producer and a creator. And
he's like, he's all in.
Yeah. So, and then they also wrote it into the plot where like he considered it bulking for working out. So he would bulk up on like 6 burritos for breakfast and then not go to the gym because he didn't have time because he ate all those burritos.
I had this situation the other night, and I mean, honestly, it happened late at night, and I had a great idea. I was going to the bathroom before I go to bed, anyway, going to the bathroom. I think I've got this fantastic idea. And so I walk out of the bathroom, I'm finished my business in there, and I go into the table to write it down, and I can't remember what my idea was. But it was so fantastic.
Like in that span.
In 30 seconds, I had the greatest idea. I mean, maybe would have revolutionized the world. And I lost it.
So there's like there's like a psychological study been done about that, where it turns out they call it the doorway effect. If you enter a new room, a lot of times it clears the slate of your brain. It just like straight up empties it out and resets you for a new situation. And so walking through a doorway or walking through an entryway, that's why, like, you walk into the kitchen and you stare at the fridge for like 30 seconds trying to figure out.
What did I come for?
Yeah. And then you realize like a minute and a half later, it was like, oh yeah. I was going to make coffee or something, like nothing to do with the fridge.
Well, now I can say that I have walked back in said bathroom, not this time, but I've walked back in said room and just stood there for a minute. And sometimes my thought will come back to me.
Yeah.
In that same, going back in that room.
Where you had the idea.
You think the room? Like, did you leave the thought in the room?
Yeah, I think I leave the thought in the room. Maybe that's what LJ said. You get a new slate in a new room.
I mean, I think there is some validity to that. Like one of the things that I was always told in like high school is when you're studying, chew a particular gum and then chew that gum while you're actually taking the test, and it'll help you recall things better. And I think, because like your senses.
Why are you just laying this on us now?
Well, I figured this was common knowledge. I was taught it in high school. Where were you guys?
Yeah, you could have made I could have turned some of those G's to P's, man.
And obviously LJ didn't learn it early in college.
Well, no, I didn't use it. I thought it was better than the gum trick, and obviously I was not. But yeah, no, your senses, I think, are deeply tied to your memory and to your creative functions. And so, like, I think that in a very, very metaphorical sense, you do leave your thoughts in a room, and you do leave your thoughts in a meal or whatever. Like your thoughts, you find them laying around whenever you revisit that thing sometimes. But
I like that.
But yeah, that happens.
So you might have came up with like something to revolutionize the world, and it got left in the bathroom.
So far, it may come to me. Just, hey, world, hang on. There was a revolutionary idea that was going to make all our lives better. And when I think of it, you'll be happier and I'll make more money. So,
I think something that could make the world better is the lock by my door when I leave. Because like if I'm leaving at night and I have to lock my door, I wish there was like not a big light, but just a little bitty light that was like almost like motion sensor that would light up my
just a little pin light that would
deadbolt to where I see where my key goes in and like if it's held up the right way. Because mine is a little finicky; it doesn't go in right. And so like I'm sitting there, and a lot of times like I'll be getting ready to go to work and it's dark, and I'll have my hands full. I have my lunch in my hand. I have a drink in my hand, like up in between my arm. Like I have a lot of stuff in my hands.
And you know where the keys are in the same side.
And they're in the same side pocket. Yeah. And I get my keys out. And I'm like, son of a gun. And then they won't work. And I have to set everything down and then turn my phone light on. And I just think.
Do you have a porch light?
No. Well, I have one, but the light bulb's out. I could just get a porch light. But also, I don't like you leave your porch light on the whole time you're gone. I don't like leaving.
I don't usually when I'm gone, but I like to leave it on at night when I'm here because that way at least someone can't walk up to your door and be inconspicuous. I mean, there is a light there that would, not give them time to.
Wait, so you don't leave it on when you're gone?
I try to be random about it, honestly, because yeah.
But so then that doesn't solve Kevin's problem at all to have a porch light by your methodology.
Well, but I turn the porch light on at night, period. So if I was to come in,
fair enough.
If I leave at 5:00 in the afternoon and it's still daylight and I know I'm not getting back till 10, I'm turning the porch lights on. So that I would be able to see.
I'll say the worst time for that is like the winter because the sun goes down like by the time you get home from work. And so you either have to leave your light on all day or, but I would say, I think Kevin, you've got a good invention there, but the problem is I think you're like 10 years too late because we're about to have like locks that you put your fingerprint on or locks that recognize you.
So I thought about the cameras now. They have those like motion sensor cameras where I think mom has one where like if she's here, she could be here in Texarkana. If the UPS guy comes to her door, she'll get like an alert and she can look at it.
To her
she
phone.
Can see who's there.
She can even see who's at my door. And maybe she goes, oh, it's just a mailman,
Yeah.
And so if they have that, surely they can make just a cheap, not even that super expensive, but a little light that goes somewhere. Maybe it like lights up around the deadbolt. Like it's a little bitty light that just kind of like lights up when the key touches it or something.
You're totally right. And like I think the problem is this technology has existed for a long time and someone really should have came up with this 10 years ago because I think it would have sold a ton.
They probably,
but like now I think it's because how expensive is a webcam and how expensive, you're already paying for the internet. So it's not like you need like another service or anything. Like I could probably come up with a camera like mom has for relatively cheap and sell it for, not like maybe 100% more than you charge for your light. And if that's something like, $20 compared to $40, I think I'd rather have the camera. Yeah.
So my idea would have been good. My idea would have been good in 2008, maybe.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Also, while we're talking, while we're here, kind of, I hadn't explained to Kevin. I think this will be an easy one for you two. But I was listening to it was a couple weeks ago now.
You have to consider the audience.
I was with a couple weeks ago. We went up to Hopkins here at Texarkana and saw Jed play. Mm-hmm. Jed was playing for what was it? Karaoke night? Not karaoke night. Open mic night. Yeah. And I thought about it. I've thought about this before, but so an acoustic guitar, LJ, it works by the sounds like it makes inside the guitar, right? And it's like hollow, and when it plays,
yes and no.
Am I totally off base?
I mean,
well, what I don't get is an acoustic guitar sounds good when you're just playing it. Like if me and Dad in a room and he starts playing it, albeit, I mean, I don't know how good he'll play it, but if we're in the same room and someone starts playing the acoustic guitar, it's going to sound good.
Yeah.
It's got a good melody. Why does it work if you plug it in? How does that same sound all go to do you get what I'm saying? Like,
I think that's a really
electric
good
guitar I get.
How can an acoustic guitar be electronically amplified?
Because I get why an electric guitar works through a chord, but I don't see why an acoustic one works.
I actually think...
is there an easy answer?
So I would say actually you probably actually get how an acoustic guitar works, but you don't get how an electric guitar works. You just don't know it yet.
That's probably true.
So an acoustic guitar works in that... So the sound comes from the strings vibrating. That's where the sound is created. And then the reason that it sounds good is that it's bouncing around on the inside and kind of rounding out the sound and reverberating a bit and then coming out a little bit louder. So the way that you make that sound when you plug it in is usually there's just a little microphone on the inside and that just picks it up. It's just that simple. And then that microphone converts to whatever signal it needs to run to the speaker. Whereas an electric guitar is actually, there are these little pickups that are not microphones, but they're more picking up the electric fields of the vibrating strings. And then that gets converted into a sound as it gets transferred to an amp or whatever.
Okay. That makes sense.
So an acoustic guitar is just basically a microphone replicating the sound.
Oh, it's just in there picking it up. In the same way that your microphone's picking up your voice right now.
And amplifying it. But in an electric guitar, the pickups are getting more of an what'd you say, the electrical field?
Right, they're measuring an electrical
of the strings.
Field. Yeah. Yeah. So
and you can make it sound a lot of different ways. I
correct.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's just one of those things I've never really thought about. I've seen people play guitar and I've seen it plugged up. It's just the other day I was like, an acoustic guitar sound, it's an acoustic. How does it, like Dad said, how does it become electric? How does it?
Well, I think that's a spectacular question. Sense. I mean, this isn't an explain to Kevin where you look like an idiot. I think this is a really good question. And I think, the answer I think is relatively simple, but also only if you've really thought about it. I think that's a great question.
Yeah.
Atta boy, Kevin. Atta boy.
Chew gum.
And all right, well, we're going to segue over to how we always end it, and it's the what we're listening to side. And I want to go ahead and start. I've been jamming to some Anderson .Paak. I was on my way into Texarkana this weekend. I thought I want to listen to some old Anderson .Paak. And I listened to the Malibu album, and it's just he just got a groove to him. I like it. He has that newer song. I think it's Bubbly. Is that what it's called?
I think so.
I really like it. But I just like it. He has a good flow, a good jam.
We've got a friend here in Chicago that they have a record player and they have that Malibu album on vinyl. And for whatever reason, that just feels like an album that should be on vinyl. Like there's something.
I think Jake Perlman has it on vinyl. Yeah.
It just feels classic.
Well, and there's also, I found this thing. I might try to go find it back on Twitter and put it in the show notes. But there's I think it was just a random person got an Anderson .Paak song. And he matched it with him playing like the saxophone. And it is so cool. Okay. And it was cool because the guy just tweeted like, look at this, look at what I made. And you can tell he just made it in his like extra room or something, like his game room.
Yeah.
And Anderson .Paak, I guess, caught wind of it and noticed it, was like, dude, this is awesome. Let's link up next summer. I think it's just a random fan, but it did sound really cool. I'm going to try to find it and I'll put it in our show notes.
Well, that reminds me, something else maybe we put in our show notes is I'll have to look for it also, but some dude, wrote a song to add to he produced a song around some T-Pain vocals that T-Pain did at a Tiny Desk concert, and it was so then T-Pain got the shout out and he said, hey, let's record a song together because he made this hobby beat or whatever. It was very cool. So
T-Pain can actually sing, like when you take away his
Tiny Desk concert.
Have a voice. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
So, LJ, what have you been listening to this week?
So I was in, I don't know the answer to this yet, so I'm doing research. But I was Hannah and I were in the Social Security Administration office here in Chicago, doing a little bit of a name change. And the music coming up over the speakers was strange and awesome. Like I called it, when we were talking about it, I called it a bit of a swaggy Doors, because it was like almost like 70s like alt rock and psychedelic rock mixed with a little bit of like hip hop. It was very strange for what was essentially a federal lobby. And I don't know.
It's not typically where I go to listen to like new music. Like
so I've reached out to the Social Security Administration to try to find out what this song is, and like maybe in due time I could maybe get an interview on how the process. Because like what blew me away is they were talking about the same music is playing in every Social Security office in all of America right now. So who makes that decision, and how did they end up with such a weird choice? Like you would expect like Kenny G covers or something, but.
You reached out to the Social Security office?
Well, I'm reaching out.
And said,
I talked to somebody.
Okay.
Yeah, I talked to somebody in the office and they told me that. So I reached out because I was like, hey, if anybody wants to, I would love to talk more about this to anybody that's willing to give me their ear, because this is so weird to me.
But so you're saying that we could have been in the Social Security office here and we would have heard the same music at the same time as you did.
That's what they told me. I don't know. That's why I want to talk to somebody. That is such a weird, like, who makes that decision? And also, like, was this song written for the Social Security office, or was this a song, like, where did the composer intend for this to go? Because it's such a weird song for that location. In the lobby. Oh my gosh. Like I want to talk to anybody involved in that process. So maybe I'll get to. I'll keep you guys updated if I do. But
all that being said, we don't know.
Well, I can't play it for you now, but eventually, if I can point out who the Swaggy Doors are, then I'll let the listeners know for sure, because I was totally digging.
Now, was that the name of a group or just what you called it?
That's what I called it.
Swaggy Doors,
okay. Right? Because they're like the Doors, like the band,
mm-hmm. But they were swaggy.
Yeah, they had a little extra walk to them. I don't know. They were very cool.
Were you jiving or were you jibing to it?
I guess I was probably jiving, but I was also jibing with it quite well. So.
All right. Well, so the listeners need to stay tuned for not only that, but also Dad's revolutionary idea that may or may not come back to him.
Right. This episode might be very fruitful in the next month or so, but we'll see.
It could be.
Or not. It could not be.
Or not. Yeah. It could be nothing. So for what LJ's listening to, I would put down LJ Swaggy Doors.
Stay tuned. Links because we don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, so what have you been listening to, Dad?
So I've listened to all the Malcolm Gladwell. I'm very sad. I've listened to every single one of
all
three seasons of
How many weeks in a row do we get to just punch our card and call ourselves a Malcolm Gladwell response show?
Hey, whatever. I'm telling you, I dig him. Bromance going on. But so I actually listened to some music, and I got a group out that I've really loved, and I haven't listened to in a while. Collective Soul. Do y'all know Collective Soul?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good,
and
because
many good albums.
So many, but there's two. Discipline Breakdown, which is really good, and Dosage. And Dosage has heavy but some of the best lyrics. And we are going to address. I've been kind of updating my top 500. Oh, by the way.
Oh, have you?
I've made a few changes in my top 500. Yeah.
Is there still number one that we knew about, or is that
number one that you know about? I have not changed. Marvin Gaye. Let's get it on number one.
All right.
I mean, that's
all right.
For anyone that doesn't know, this is top 500 songs.
Songs.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. We brought it up when we talked about the national anthems.
Right.
4 months ago, something like that. So.
And I may put Destiny's Child rendition of the national anthem in my top 500. That was amazing.
It was good.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Hard to beat. Yeah. But so Collective Soul, just generally Collective Soul?
Just Collective Soul, but Discipline Breakdown is probably the album I would point you towards, and it is excellent. You will get to listen to it if you go to our website and hit the button, and it will be on my playlist, which is the best of the three playlists that are there.
Yeah,
it's a fact. It's a fact.
I haven't updated mine in probably
your
6
opinion,
weeks.
Man.
Huh?
That's just like your opinion, man.
Dude, I'm the duder.
Since it's 20-year anniversary, I thought it's worth getting
bring a little Lebowski.
Get a Lebowski ref. Get a dude ref.
I got married under the Church of Dudism, so
that is true.
Are you legal? Are you legally married?
Yeah.
The Church of Dudism, though. I mean, that's
it's officially recognized by the state of Illinois.
Okay. Well, okay. There you go. Good.
And there you have it. I think that do it for us this week. As always, you can catch us on our website at jpppod.com or on our Twitter at jpppodcast or on Facebook at Just Press Play. I think that's it for me. Y'all got anything else?
I think I'm done.
Football's back, baby.
Yeah. Whoop.
We'll pick Suey.
Our Pilot does a good pen, the Pilot G2s, which it's a clicky pen. What y'all stance on that clicker? You're a lid guy, it seems like. I always remember you having lid pens.
It depends.
You better believe it.
If I'm going out like at lunch to run a few errands and I might need to run by the bank and do a deposit slip or something, I'm going to get a click pen and I'm going to get a good click pen because I want to use my pen, not their pen. Their pen's usually shitty.
Why do you want a click pen in that situation instead of a lidded pen?
Because I can carry it with me and I'm ready to go click, I'm ready. Where here it takes two hands to pull the pen apart and stick it on the back and just...
Yeah, I totally get that.
LJ, are you a lidded?
I like a lid pen because I kind of like the ceremony. It's kind of like I like to grind my own coffee. Not because it tastes better, but because like it's...
The ceremony of a pen?
Yeah. No, you find the ceremony in the little
things. The click doesn't do it for you, just clicking in?
But he said a lidded pen, right? Not a click pen?
Yes, correct.
He doesn't want to click.
Because it has no ceremony. It has no pomp and circumstance.
Well, talking about ceremonies, something that was so cool, and you guys know I just enjoyed remembering my dad, the way he would light a cigarette. I mean, he had his Zippo lighter. Yeah. He was just the coolest James Dean guy. He
I always thought it was super cool.
Puts puts it in there, flicks that lighter with one hand, lights it, flicks it down real quick, puts it up, and it just, I just
something about, I think it was Granddaddy that is what I think about it, but something about the Zippo lighter, like popping it open and then shutting it.
Yeah.
It's just cool.
I just remember him doing that all the time.
It made me want to just have a Zippo lighter at all times.
Like I would never use it, but just to have it.